The classroom was one of the older ones, built during the 22nd century. It being the 23rd century means the district never had the funding to build another school, or even change the old rooms. That means while the paint is new and the tech is somewhat updated, the walls were thin, and the rooms were cold. My history class and I walked into one such room. It was cold, and we could hear 3 rooms over, and if it was not for Mr. Pons, it would be miserable. Mr. Pons always managed to brighten the day with his laughter and smile, plus the fact that he never gave a lot of homework didn't hurt. We were standing around the room, talking about the up-and-coming spirit rally, waiting for Mr. Pons to call us to our seats. "Everyone, please take a seat," a robotic voice said. Muscle memory worked quickly, but then we realized that was not Mr. Pons' voice. "We will begin with introductions. I'm Educator T-Duff." The voice belonged to a figure coming in from the hall. Educator T-Duff walked into the beige-coloured room, a small bag in one hand and pad in the other. They walked over to Mr. Pons' desk in the corner facing the door and started to unpack their bag. Everyone was still in shock when they finished and turned around again. "Everyone, please take a seat. I'll continue introductions when everyone is seated." The shock wore off, and everyone took a seat next to their friends, including me and my friends. When everyone was seated, T-Duff continued. "As I said before, I'm Educator T-Duff. I will be your teacher." The voice said that word with difficulty, as if just learned the language. "I'm a part of an exchange program arranged between the Educator Assembly and your district. Your previous teacher, Mr. Pons, is also a part of this program and is currently teaching my old class. Any questions, because I'm sure you have a lot, judging from your faces." "Why do you sound like a robot?" Jason asked, one of my friends since first grade. He was tall from unfair genetics, had coal-black curly hair, and had an olive skin tone. T-Duff's robotic voice was replaced by a more natural one, but it spoke a language I have never heard. A few moments after they began speaking, the robotic voice came back. "I'm using a translator. It translates my tongue into yours. I was rushed here, so I didn't have time to learn any of your tongue. Hopefully over the course of the planetary revolution, I will be able to talk to you without the use of one." T-Duff looked around the room and spoke again. "If you're wondering, the translator isn't an advanced one yet. It's currently learning how to accurately translate, so please excuse any delays in translation. They will slowly disappear as the planetary revolution goes on." I asked a question next. "What's a planetary revolution? Is that how you measure time?" T-Duff grinned. "Yes, a planetary revolution is roughly equal to 1 of your years. And for time scaling, it depends on the object we are on, but rotation always means a day, and a revolution a year." "Where are you from, and what's it like in space?" Jackie asked, my other friend from 2nd grade. She is taller than me, much to my dismay, has short brown hair, and has a sun-scorched skin tone. "I'm glad you asked." T-Duff stopped and sighed. "It seemed I overlooked learning your names. I'm sorry, Jackie." She filled in. "Jackie, summarized, space is breathtaking and I'm from Dryhome," T-Duff said before looking at their pad. T-Duff spoke in their own language, seemingly to themselves, and then looked up at us. "What we will be learning this planetary revolution is a little different from what you're used to, according to the information your principal provided me. We will be learning about Lost One history, combined with your history, mixed with cultural lessons for you and me and I, current events, but for now names. Please speak your name when I point to you. I will try and remember them all." T-Duff went around the room and collected everyone's names. The clock on the beige wall, as this went on, couldn't have been slower. "You 3, what are your names?" T-Duff asked, shaking me out of a daydream. "Jason, Jackie, and John," we all said individually. T-Duff typed it down and continued with this Day 1 class in November. "Tomorrow we will start with a general rundown of Lost One culture, and you will teach me about United Republic's culture," T-Duff said, looking up from their pad again. Any questions? Do we have any homework? Jason asked. Me and Jackie both lightly kicked Jason under the table before the whole class gave him the stink eye. I lost a bet, okay? You didn't have to kick that hard, Jason whispered. What's homework? Tidov asked, very confused. The class stopped giving Jason the death stare and started giving Tidov puzzled looks. Me and Jackie each looked at each other and grinned a little. Jason started to give an answer to Tidov's question, but stopped, not wanting to get either kicked or the death stare again. What was that? Tidov looked down to their pad and looked for his name. Jason, right? Yes, that's my name. Is it Educator Tidov or just Tidov? Jason asked, accepting his faith as the teacher's pet. Either is fine. Educator is a formal title, Tidov said, looking up from their pad in their hand and back to us three. So what's this homework you asked me about? I looked around the room again, and the class was back to giving us the stink eye. I sunk in my chair as Jason spoke. Homework is... It's hard to describe it, but homework is work you take home from school to do at home. Tidov had a puzzled look on their face as Jason spoke, but a moment or two after he was done, clarity sparked across Tidov's face. Oh no! On Dry Home we don't do homework. In fact, this schedule I received is the complete opposite of what I used to do back home, Tidov said, a small smile appearing on their face when they talked of home. My students were the best. Well, the class was after job training, so everyone was tired from working. The class got a little confused, and I felt bad for the kids on Dry Home. Working on schoolwork was something everyone complained about. Imagine having to work during a job during school, too. From the looks on your faces, you're worried about me making you do that. I'm not, because I was told not to, Tidov said, chuckling a bit. It's not actual work if you're worried about that. It's more an introduction to the jobs and work the lost ones perform and what jobs you may be assigned. The class sighed in relief from either in sympathy for the students of Dry Home or the fact we don't have to do job training. What do you mean assign jobs? Jackie asked. Some of the class mumbled similar questions. The lost ones, as you know them, are organised similar to a technocracy as you classify it, Tidov explained, pausing and staring out the window. I looked behind me and it was starting to rain. Sorry, I'm not used to rain. Anyway, since forever is the best term, the leadership of the Lost Ones moved people around to where they were needed, meaning if a researcher was needed and someone was available, they would become a researcher. The rain started to slam against the metal roof of the school as Tidov continued. However, as time went on and our population expanded and more jobs were needed to maintain our structures, assemblies were created as a way to regulate and guide the professions on paths of discover or progress so the upper assembly can focus on safeguarding the whole people. Tidov sighed and shook their head before continuing. Everything about my culture is about survival, and that cultural focus can have its upsides. It has its downsides too, and those are plentiful. The bell rang, causing the entire class to be lifted from the focus we had on Tidov and that mini lesson. Tidov looked down to their pad and frowned. Looks like that's all we have for today. Tomorrow, we will continue this lesson on the cultural differences of our people. See you then. The class got up and packed up their things, either their own pads or ancient paper and pen. Me and my friends got our things and left the room, on to the next class. We continued to discuss the information that Tidov shared with us. We are all excited for tomorrow's class. No homework, exciting material, and an interesting teacher made it the best class so far.